Hey, it's Trey, the boy with the baddest takes. And today's take, my father always loved a good definition. And according to the dictionary, gay means I want to gag, I want to choke. I was but a wee lad at a family reunion, walking with a switch, hands on my hips, finger in my mouth, and my hand in my hair, honey.
She was a fairy, yeah.
And my family was letting me have it, okay? But they weren't calling me names and correcting my behavior because they were worried about where I was putting my pee-pee.
I just got laid off from my job at CBS, and every producer on my team who got laid off is a person of color. Every person who gets to stay and will be relocated within the company is a white person.
The American Jewish commitment to justice, not lip service, real justice, and the American Jewish community's commitment to oppose racism, real racism, is a source of tremendous pride, rightfully so, and that should never waver. But in reality, DEI is not actually about any of those words. Rather, it uses those words as camouflage. Those words are, in fact, now metaphors for a powerful ideological movement bent on recategorizing every American not as an individual worthy of equal rights and dignity because of their individuality, but as an avatar of an identity group, a person's behavior prejudged according to that group, setting all of us up in a kind of zero-sum game.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got to talk about some fascinating news involving the woke DEI employees from the Race and Culture Unit that got laid off from CBS News. Now, before we get into, again, fascinating story that I would say is also hilarious, but I really don't want to laugh at people losing their jobs, right? I really don't want to, especially at this time, okay? But again, we got to cover this story. It is pretty entertaining, to be honest with you guys. Again, involving CBS News. Now, if you guys aren't aware, CBS News, they're undergoing a broader restructuring within Paramount, okay, following its merger with Skydance Media. You have CBS canceling certain shows, like, for example, CBS Morning Plus and CBS Evening News Plus. They also have hired Bari Weiss to come in and to lead CBS, and she is making some decisions that are raising eyebrows.
Well, the new editor-in-chief at CBS News, Bari Weiss, is looking to right the ship, but the staff and their union are rebelling. Last week, Weiss sent out a memo asking staff to explain what they do during the day, if they had any suggestions for improvements, adding, quote, "Please be blunt. It will help me greatly, and the goal is simple. I want to familiarize myself with you, and I want you to do the same with me, to know that we are aligned on achieving a shared vision for CBS News." Well, the backlash was swift and severe. Listen to this. Journalist Walker Bragman said this: everyone at CBS News should quit in protest.
Right? I think these decisions are probably good decisions. Like, for example, there are rumors that she's looking to poach Brett Baer from Fox News or Scott Jennings from CNN, which, again, I think would be amazing, right? I think that Scott Jennings definitely deserves his own show. I think he is way too good for CNN, and I would like to see him have his own show on CBS News. That would be amazing, right? That would be amazing. But again, Bari Weiss is leading CBS now, and you have, again, the Race and Culture Unit being dismantled, right? So they moved on from wokeness because wokeness doesn't make money, okay? Corporate America showed us that earlier this year when they moved away from wokeness after the election. They used the election as an excuse, but yeah, it doesn't make money, right? This is why when layoffs happen, the first employees that they get rid of are the ones that don't generate a profit.
A week ago, my mom was flying to New York to come help me pick a wedding dress. And just this Monday, I took her to the office and was showing her around and being like, "Mira, mommy, I work here." But now I have to call and tell her I got laid off. Why am I recording this? I don't know.
Hello.
Hi, mommy.
Ay, mija, ¿cómo andas?
Bien, ¿y tú?
También bien.
¿Dónde andas?
En la casa.
Ok, qué bueno. Te tengo que decir algo.
¿Qué?
Pues en el trabajo tuvieron como recortes y Sabíamos que iban a despedir a unas personas, pero...
Y te despierta a ti.
Mhm.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
¿Por siempre?
Mhm.
Ay, mira, cuánto lo siento.
Yeah. ¿Estás enojada?
No, ¿cómo voy a estar enojada? Es que el problema está tremendo, mija.
Okay, qué bueno.
Yo entiendo. Él no quiere que diga nada, en demanda aquí, demanda allá, todo el mundo va a quebrar. Yo lo que quiero es que Dios haga justicia, que vea las cosas y que ponga cartas al asunto con él, porque ya fue mucho.
Ya, pues en nuestro equipo cortaron el show por entero, pero unas personas sí las asignaron a otros equipos y a mí no. Yeah.
¿Y el que va a tener el bebé?
El que va a tener el bebé tuvo el bebé hoy, pero lo despidieron también.
¿Ya lo tuvo?
Ya, lo tuvo esta mañana. Es una niña.
¿Tuvo gusto y susto?
Yes, tuvo gusto y susto.
Ay, señor.
Déjate digo el otro chisme.
A ver.
Los compañeros que sí le dieron asignación en otra parte de la empresa, todos son güeros.
Yeah, so you say that you heard that, okay? These employees who are being laid off, they are accusing CBS of racism. They're saying that the layoffs are based off of race and that all the white employees who are being laid off, they are being reassigned, aka they're keeping their jobs, even if they were a part of the race and culture unit, right? They are being reassigned to other units, and the people who are actually being fired are being let go. They're all so-called people of color, right? And minorities. So you have this one guy, okay, who was laid off, and he's now taken to the internet to, again, boohoo, whine, and cry racism over losing his job at CBS News. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it.
I just got laid off from my job at CBS, and every producer on my team who got laid off is a person of color. Every person who gets to stay and will be relocated within the company is a white person. Now, in my meeting with the executive who told me I was getting laid off, I specifically asked him if it was a consideration for us to be relocated somewhere else within the company, and he said that we advocated to keep the show. We advocated to try to get you relocated somewhere, and we couldn't. Because I asked him, why are you the person who is making this decision or delivering the news that we're being laid off? And he said, oh, it could have been anyone. Only to later find out, because it wasn't until I went downstairs thinking that me and all of my colleagues had been laid off, that I found out that it was only the people of color. So I went one by one to my white colleagues. Are you getting laid off? No. 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 So I went back up to his office and I told him, I think you lied to my face. And come to find out, it was not his decision to eliminate the show that I work for. But he did get to decide who got to stay. I told him, you said that you couldn't get us relocated, only to find out that you were able to get some people relocated and they all happen to be white. Am I supposed to believe that that's a coincidence? And he said, yes. I'm supposed to believe that's a coincidence. I said, do you believe that's a coincidence? He said, I do, because I chose to keep the people who I had worked with before. So mind you, not only is it not based on merit, it is in its result racist. I don't care if you decided to keep people who had purple colored hair. You deciding to keep people who you had worked with before, which don't even know if that's true. If the outcome of that decision is racist, the action was racist, that shit is fucked.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Now, again, this guy is an ex-CBS producer now. His name is Trey Sherman, right? He served as an associate producer for CBS Evening News Plus, okay, the streaming program that got axed, okay? He also worked for CBS's Race and Culture Unit, which was dissolved in the same round of cuts that affected about 100 staffers across the division. Now, there's also other accusations that the layoffs are bigoted, right? They're apparently racist and also they're sexist, okay? Because CBS News fired 8 on-air personalities in the latest layoffs under new leader Bari Weiss. All of them are women. So I want you guys to understand the accusations here, right? They are basically accusing Bari Weiss, who is a woman and just happens to be a Jew. So there's 2 infinity stones of wokeness right there, right? They're accusing her of essentially being bigoted, right? Being bigoted when it comes to the firings. Now, the sources with knowledge of the situation are saying that she doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the fact that these are happening in the first place, right? Like this was coming before she was hired, but she has intervened in regards to who is getting fired and who is staying. Again, I don't know if this is true, but again, according to this article, 3 sources with knowledge of the situation, a male correspondent was initially included on the layoff list, but was removed after he appealed directly to the new editor-in-chief, Bari Weiss, leading to another female correspondent being added to the list at the last minute. Now, it's also important to note that Bari Weiss is not necessarily a conservative, okay? She is one of these individuals that ended up getting fed up with the liberal media being illiberal, right? And mistreating colleagues with centrist viewpoints. This is why she left the New York Times. She went on to found the anti-woke heterodox digital outlet, the Free Press, which David Ellison, the now CEO and chairman of the merged Skydance and Paramount entity, okay? So he's essentially in charge of all of this stuff, purchased for $150 million this month. Weiss has been an outspoken critic of the diversity initiatives and wokeness in the workplace and media. She famously, again, quit her job as a New York Times columnist in 2020 over the paper's illiberal environment, claiming she was a victim of bullying from her leftist colleagues over her centrist viewpoints. Quote, "It is time to end DEI for good," Weiss declared in a 2023 op-ed. Quote, "No more standing by as people are encouraged to segregate themselves. No more forced declarations that you will prioritize identity over excellence. No more compelled speech. No more going along with little lies for the sake of being polite." Yeah, so as you can imagine, leftists are very upset, right? They really don't like this woman, again, for a lot of reasons that are obvious.
The new editor-in-chief of CBS is a self-described Zionist fanatic who has spent the last 2 years denying the Gaza genocide. Here is everything you need to know about Bari Weiss. Bari Weiss founded the centrist independent publication known as the Free Press, a publication that describes Gaza's famine as a myth. It also urges readers to not trust the experts of genocide on the Gaza genocide. Her new role at CBS means that she will have editorial discretion on popular American news shows like 60 Minutes and Sunday Morning Show. What they describe as being able to shape the way Americans read, listen, watch, and most importantly, understand the news. And here's the thing, this is just the latest move by the CEO of Paramount, David Ellison, to capitulate further to the Trump administration. David Ellison choosing a Zionist fanatic to head CBS is honestly not dissimilar to what his father is looking to do by being a new owner of TikTok.
Okay, but with that being said, what I want to say about these layoffs are that at the end of the day, I'm not surprised, right? DEI is not profitable. That's what it comes down to, okay? It's not profitable. Companies can't make money off of it. It is a net money loser, right? You're losing money off of DEI. And my best guess is that these employees were probably hired because of DEI, because of some DEI initiative, especially if you work for the race and culture unit, okay? Again, a unit that by definition is a DEI unit. Yeah, I mean, you're probably going to be the first up. You're going to be on the chopping block when it comes to losing your job, because ultimately you probably weren't hired because of your skill set in the first place. You were probably hired because of the fact that you check a box, right? When it comes to identity. And ultimately, when you're trying to rebrand and remake a company from the ground up, when you're trying to shift a news channel from being a leftist media outlet or liberal media outlet to being more centrist, then yeah, I mean, you got to get rid of the people who don't align with that vision, right? And obviously, the individuals who got fired, they probably don't align with the vision that Bari Weiss is trying to implement at this company. I don't think it has anything to do with them necessarily being so-called people of color or women or whatever, because again, Bari Weiss is not a conservative. She's a centrist. She's a woman. She's also Jewish. So I don't know what incentive she would have to fire people based off race, okay? Unless they were hired based off race, right? Or to fire people based off sex, unless they were hired based off sex. But even then, the firings are not really race-based, right? Or sex-based, as much as just about, well, you were hired as a part of a program that was race-based and sex-based, which was wrong in the first place, right? That was wrong. So we're correcting that. In order to correct that, it just so happens that everybody that gets fired, it's probably going to be, somebody that was hired based off these things, right? And that's just the reality of the situation. It is what it is. It's happening across corporate America, right? Not just CBS News, but it's happening across the country, right? All across corporate America. I guarantee you a vast majority of people that are being fired because of corporate America getting rid of the DEI departments. I guarantee you a vast majority of those people are probably minorities, right? And again, the reason why is because minorities are being hired into these units or programs due to the fact that, again, they are minorities based off their identity. That's just the way it goes. That's just the way it goes. And if you had a skill set, or if you align with the vision of the company, the direction that they want to go in, and you were profitable, right? Then they would keep you. But clearly, you don't align with the direction of the company and what they want to do. So, hey, they're getting rid of you. It is what it is. Okay, it is what it is. So, it's one of those things where I do feel bad for people that are getting laid off, that are losing their jobs. But I do kind of find it to be a little satisfying that you're seeing certain media outlets and companies undergo changes, right, that you would have thought was unimaginable just a few years ago, right? Could you imagine just a few years ago CBS doing something like this, right? Or could you imagine corporate America going in the direction that they're going in? But it just proves what I've been theorizing for years now, which is that this stuff was never really profitable. It never made money. They were just doing it because they thought it made money, and it didn't, right? They thought that the George Floyd wokeification of this country would bring them money, would be profitable for corporate America, but it turned out that it wasn't, right? It was not profitable. If it was profitable, they'd still be doing it, right? And it was never about loving these people, right? It was never about trying to rectify, discrimination or whatever, or all the, the woke stuff these people claim that it's about. It was never about any of that stuff. It was always about money. And when the profit motive doesn't align with wokeness, then companies are going to steer away from it. It is what it is. Who knows? Maybe, just maybe, if the country shifts back in the other direction, which I hope doesn't happen, you'll see it again, right? You'll see these companies say, hey, you know what? We got to re-embrace wokeness because that's where the money's at, right? These companies follow the money, right? That's what they do. And the liberal media, they're struggling right now. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. These companies choosing to continue to be liberal, right? To overtly peddle propaganda on behalf of the Democrat Party. That's why they're struggling with viewership, right? Fox is king because they don't really have any real competition outside of Newsmax, right? I guess maybe you could say, News Nation, maybe something like that. But again, those are still, relatively small outlets, right? Media outlets. CBS is big, right? So when you have a major news outlet like CBS saying that, hey, we're going to get a Scott Jennings, we're going to get a Brett Baer, basically what they're saying is that, hey, we want to compete with Fox News, right? We want to bring viewership to our network that we usually don't get, okay? And that's what they're doing because Fox News doesn't really have that much competition. And this is something I've been talking about for a long time. I've always wondered, why is it that one of these mainstream liberal media outlets, again, that are struggling, why don't they just compete with Fox News, right? Compete with Fox News because Fox News doesn't have that much competition. But no, they're all competing for the same audience, and that's why they're struggling, okay? I mean, it's hard to out MSNBC, right? You can't do it. You can't out woke or out progressive MSNBC, and even they're struggling right now. So I think that's what you're seeing. We're going to see how it goes for CBS News. I really do hope that they move towards the middle. I don't want them to be overtly conservative. I don't want them to be overtly liberal. I just want them to be centrist. I want them to deliver the news, right? Give us some balance. And I think that's a good thing, what is happening. And it just so happens that you got to cut some of the fat, right? You got to cut some of these woke employees who will probably undermine the new vision of the company. And that's why these people are being laid off. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.